by proudly showing that charitable endeavors and helping those less fortunate is central to the Hizmet movement. They are teaching us a valuable lesson that we can take to heart as well, but they're also showing us that that is the faith of Islam. Went to Turkey and saw warehouses, goods, I often have these debates with friends. Has religion been, over the course of history, a source of there are challenges to move. I'm Roger Katz, and I serve in the Maine State Senate, and I live here in the capital city of Augusta. I actually, let me tell you a little bit about the Hizmet movement from my perspective. A couple of years ago, I didn't even know what it was. And through my work in the Maine legislature, I got familiar with the Turkish Cultural Center here in Maine. And then a couple of summers ago, I had the great honor of going on a trip to Turkey that was run from the Maine Cultural Center and spending a week in Turkey and learning a great deal more about the Hizmet movement. And I didn't really have any preconceptions before I went. But what I saw was a religious-based organization whose mission it is to encourage tolerance, to encourage diversity, and to do good work, whether it's in education or healthcare or other fields. And I came away with a real appreciation for the Hizmet movement. In particular, as we all realize these days, there's almost a battle for the minds and hearts of Americans about what does Islam really mean? And as we're taping this today, we're dealing now with the crisis of the ISIS factor over in Syria and Iraq. And too many people, I think, that's the face of Islam to them. Well, there's a very, very different face, and that's the face I saw with the Hizmet movement that looks to the best in people, not the worst. And again, the focus is on education and charity, and I was honored to be part of that. I've never met Mr. Gülen. I've done a little bit of his reading, but that expression, you can talk the talk, but you need to walk the walk. That's an expression here in America. Everything that I saw of the footprint that he is leaving in this world was extremely positive. Again, it's a message of tolerance. It's a message that religion should not control our civic institutions. It's a message that education is the key to success for our children. And it's a message which is common both to Islam and Christianity as well as Judaism, that we all have a responsibility to help those less fortunate ourselves, and to whom much is given, much is expected. And I just saw lots of instances of that. Whether it was the family that we stayed with that was not wealthy at all, that was giving of their time and their money, or whether it was more wealthy business people over there who were giving generously because God has been good to them to help those less fortunate. And I was also very impressed with Mr. Gülen's philosophy that it's not just helping those in your own neighborhood, but it's reaching out to Africa, it's reaching out to Asia, it's reaching out to America, to wherever there might be a problem. And I saw some real models of good philanthropy. I think the Hizmet movement was different. Because frankly, when I went to Turkey, I was kind of expecting that I would be proselytized. I don't know if that's a word you generally use, but that there would be that the Muslim religion would be subtly sold to us while we were there. That wasn't true at all. We were free to express contrary points of view. We were free to ask any questions we wanted, and the entire emphasis was on the good social justice, freedom of religion, tolerance of other religions, freedom of thought that the Gülen movement and the Hizmet movement is, I think, noted for. And in particular, there are those factions in Turkey that we were well aware of that aren't as tolerant. There are political forces there that just aren't as tolerant. And I was struck by the Hizmet movement's emphasis on diversity and tolerance for other religions and just other ways of thinking. That represents the best of the Muslim faith and the best of Islam. And it's unfortunate that far too often people in this country's their take on Islam is developed by watching television and watching ISIS killing innocent people. Far too many people, that is the face of Islam. That is not the face of Islam. And Muslims should be, and I believe are, more upset by that than anyone is. The real face of Islam is the face that I saw while I was in Turkey, which emphasizes the same kind of human rights of freedom of expression and tolerance that my Jewish faith does as well. I think one problem we have is that what do you see in newspapers and what do you see on television? It's not good news. We see bad news. So, for instance, when the Hizmet movement spends a great deal of money going to Africa to help out there with basic health care, that's an interesting story. But when there's a terrorist attack perpetrated by a Muslim, that is front page news. That's what controls the airwaves. That's what controls the newspaper pages, is bad news. So I think that it's up to all of us to keep saying, wait a minute now, these people are a small minority. They're very much extremists, and they don't represent what that religion really stands for. I think interfaith dialogue is critical because every time I, as an American Jew, sit down with someone from the Hizmet movement or sit down with someone from a different religion in a different part of the world. I had an honor of going to Taiwan, for instance, and talking with people there. Again, what you realize is that we have far more in common than we have things which separate us. And the basic tenets, it seems to me, of most religions is the same. It is the fact that we should be humble, that there is a higher presence, that we should live our lives in an ethical and moral way, and that we should take care of those less fortunate than us. That's a theme which really runs at a base through every religion. And if we can identify those things which connect us, we'll be far better off. I know this country best. We have a great deal of need for social action here. People are poor, people aren't well, some people are going hungry, some people aren't getting a good education. And part of the solution to that is government, but part of the solution to that is faith-based too. And when we have, the Catholic Church working a little over here, and we've got the Protestant denominations working over here, and we get Jewish folks working over here, that's great. But again, there's so much that unites us. Let's get together and try to do it in a more unified way. We'll get much more bang for our buck, I think. I think the dialogue is important. I grew up here in a largely Christian community as a Jewish person. And there are so many misconceptions about the Jewish religion that I could help break down those misconceptions by talking with people. It's the same with Muslims in this country as well. The more we talk, the more we understand, the more we see that nobody's got horns coming out of their head, and that again, that we want the basic things, same things for our families. We'll get along a lot better. And again, it's not only a matter of understanding each other well, but breaking down misunderstandings. That just because you talk differently, just because you dress differently, that doesn't mean that we at the bottom of it all that we are different, because we're not. I think maybe I've got a bit of a unique perspective because I grew up as a very small minority in an essentially Christian community. I happen to be Jewish and not Muslim, but it's the same thing. And I've always thought that my wife and I here in Augusta are kind of ambassadors for the Jewish religion. That the more we can talk about our religion, the more we can gauge about our religion, the better understanding there will be in the community about the Jewish faith. And it's exactly the same for Muslims. They're in the minority here. They have some customs, and their food is different. And so what's going on with that? And again, the more that they can engage in the larger community, the better it is for everybody. The Hizmet movement clearly emphasizes education. I'm not exactly sure why I know that education is valued within in the religion, but you know, education in this country, and I'm sure it's the same in Turkey, is the key out of poverty. It's the key to a successful life economically. And the more we can raise everybody up, and so people have good marketable skills that will help them get a good job, the better the entire society is. Also, education serves the function of training good citizens, people who are going to participate in the civic life. They're going to run for the legislature, or they're going to run for the local school board, or they're going to run for the city council. And we need that kind of educated citizenry if our country is going to continue to thrive, and I'm sure it's the same in Turkey. I think education serves a couple of functions. The first is to literally educate people, to train them to be able to do a job and to earn a good living. But the second part of it is really training good citizens. And part of education is being open to all kinds of different ideas. So that because the way we come to the best conclusions is to hear everybody out, whether even if their ideas are a little bit different than ours, and then come to the best possible solution. So the more we train people to think critically, to be open and tolerant of other points of view, the better society we're going to have. I think that most people here in the United States, including myself until recently, didn't appreciate that a central tenet of the Muslim faith is doing charity for those less fortunate. I just didn't know that, and I suspect that most of my fellow citizens here in Augusta don't know that. By proudly showing that charitable endeavors and helping those less fortunate is central to the Hizmet movement, they are teaching us a valuable lesson that we can take to heart as well. But they're also showing us that that is the faith of Islam. That's the faith of Islam. Tolerance and doing good charitable work. I know some people are critical of Hizmet for not concentrating all of its efforts in the country of Turkey, because I'm sure there's great need in Turkey. So the question is, why should they be going to Africa? Why should they be going to Asia? Why should they even be coming to this country to do the good work? We have the same kind of debate in America about American foreign aid. We've got lots of needs right in this country. Why are we sending food to Africa? Why are we sending medical care there? Why are we helping flood victims in South America? And I think the answer, and the answer is for Hizmet as well, is because it's the right thing to do. We are all people. We all we all live on this very small planet. And someone who is in need in Africa is no less worthy of help than someone who lives down the road from me in Boston, Massachusetts, for instance. The other, I think, more selfish reason to extend your charitable reach beyond the country of Turkey is because, again, that will be the face of Turkey. That will be the face of Islam. Who is Islam? Islam and the Hizmet movement is the movement that just helped build a hospital for our underserved population in Africa. Who is Hizmet? Hizmet's the movement that just sent flood relief to South America. And you are known for what you do. And so I think from just a selfish perspective, it's good for Turkey. It's certainly good for the Hizmet movement to expand its reach in the ways that they have. The question is, the small things we do in Maine or the small things we do in New Jersey, how does that impact things? And I think it really does. Again, when I went to Turkey and saw the warehouses of goods and medical supplies and food and medical equipment and emergency vehicles that was about to get shipped off to various continents where it was really needed, it changed my view of the country of Turkey. It changed my view of the Hizmet movement, and it changed my view of Islam. And that's a really nice side benefit to just doing things for the right reason, which of course is that people are in need. Those of us who have the wherewithal to help have a moral responsibility to help.
The one thing that I really admire of the Hizmet movement is that it does not just target Turkey. Even when I was in Turkey, when we were learning about the Hizmet movement, that it started out with, of course, helping locally, but it immediately branched out. So no matter where the calamity is, no matter where the crisis is, they are at the forefront.
I think interfaith dialogue is one thing among others. Sometimes when one says interfaith dialogue, it's almost like setting up soccer teams to play. Let's have a Muslim, let's have a Jew, let's have a Christian, let's have a dialogue or trialogue.